And so there's a lot of stories to tell about bridges. I read about two brothers that had two farms side by side. They were very, very successful, and they shared their wealth with one another. There was a younger brother and an older brother, and the younger brother had a beautiful farm. The older brother had a beautiful farm, and they shared their equipment. If the older brother needed, one of the machines that the younger brother had, he would loan it to him. And they had been like this for 40 years. They had worked these farms. People knew them. They knew they were successful because they had worked together as a team that come together in camaraderie and friendship and business, and it caused them to be blessed. But one day there was an offense. It was an offense that was just maddening because it was so simple. It was so, it was so inconsequential. It didn't make any difference about this particular offense. It wasn't a real big thing. And so what happened was, in this offense that was so devastating, they quit having anything to do with one another. They didn't talk to each other. They spoke terrible words about one another. People couldn't imagine it. One day, the younger brother went up with his big, land mover, his bulldozer, and he cut down a dam that had been there for years to open up a new pasture for him. And when he did that, he absolutely had changed the course of the spring, and the water would flow down a different way, and it starved out the older brother's farm and the resource of water. He just had to depend on rain, and he had to depend on the ponds that he had on his property is all he could depend on. Well, he was even madder than ever before. One day there was on his wooden door, and there was a fellow standing there, and he said, "Hey," said, "do you have any work?" He said, "Well, yeah, I do." He said, "What do you do?" He said, "Well, I happen to be a carpenter." Man, that's exactly what I need. I need a carpenter. Look, my brother lives over in that adjoining farm across that creek that's running down there. You can see it doesn't run very fast, and you can see what he's done to me. He built a dam, changed the course of the water flow onto his property, and there's nothing I can do about it. But I've got some wood down here. I want you to build me a fence where I don't have to look at my brother's farm. I don't even want to look at him. I'm so mad at him. He's sorry, no good for nothing. I don't want to have anything to do with my brother, much less I don't even want to look at him. I want you to build me a great big fence where I don't have to see him. And so he gave him the job. He said, "Can you do that?" He said, "Yes, I think I could." And he went, and he said, "Well, I tell you what, I've got to go to town for 2 or 3 days, and when I come back, we'll see how good you've done." He said, "There's food here. You can go in. There's a place to sleep." And so he set him up, and he went off to town. The older brother had some business to take care of. And when he came back, would you believe that carpenter had built a bridge? He didn't build a fence. He built a bridge. Boy, he was mad as fire at that carpenter. Why would he build a bridge? I thought I was clear enough for him to understand. He went down to look at this guy that was putting the final touches on this bridge and give him a piece of his mind. He couldn't imagine him doing that. And when he did, there was his younger brother across the other side of the bridge. And he came walking across that bridge. And he said to his older brother, he said, "I can't believe that you would have done this." He said, "I've been so mean to you. I have been so unkind. I've said terrible things about you. I have said the most shameful things about you." He said, "I am so sorry. And I can't believe that you would be kind enough to build a bridge to go across this creek." Well, all was forgiven. They hugged. He turned around to the carpenter. He said, "Hey, I got a few more jobs that I'd like for you to do around here." He said, "I'm sorry." He said, "I've got to be on my way. As a carpenter, I've got other bridges to build." How many of you know who that carpenter was? The carpenter was Jesus. I'm telling you, there's some people right now on a bridge to nowhere. You have not finished that bridge. All you've said, oh, I forgive them. I just don't want to have anything to do with them. If you're burned once, it's your fault. Burned twice, it's my fault. I'm just going to cut off all relationships with. That's the best way that it can exist. I can get along better if it's that way. But the truth is, you see, there's a carpenter that's going to come. And he's going to start working and finishing that bridge you started on to nowhere. He's going to finish it. Some of you are right there on that bridge.